Okay.
You don't want that?
No, not today.
Okay.
Hello, hello. Oh, I don't have my tissues over here, Grimmer.
Uh-oh.
Even after all that, I don't have tissues. I don't think. Nope, I don't see them. You know, they could be almost anywhere here around the desk, but they're not. Thank you.
It's a good thing that wasn't a Super Bowl pass or a handoff.
I thought of football right away too. You must think I have a bigger. My goodness. Well, look at that. It says there are 3 viewers, but please say hello if you're out there. Please, please. Don't be shy. There's no reason. Welcome to 420-ish Tea and Tarot Take 2. We were like live streaming a few minutes ago, and it was weird. I totally just got boom shut down, like a gate dropped in front of me. And I don't know, we erased that video, but just because it was only a couple, I don't know even if it was a minute long, but I completely shut down, and then Christine walked into the room and asked a question. Come on over here.
Yeah,
They need to see your beautiful self.
there we go.
Get in here, Grimmer. Um, so, anywho, make a long story short, I cut that one, but I just had this like boom right in front of my face. I couldn't see a thing. It was as if,
You just checked out.
yeah, it was weird. But I'm wondering if it's because Christine, like, when the person asked about Mystic Fair, she had received a phone call about a vendor for Mystic Fair. And I think that's Christine probably froze up.
What do I do?
Yeah, and thought of me. And she came in here right away. And, you know, that's how closely we're connected. So
Yeah, you did it. I was
it was weird.
I was sitting here going, I didn't type it that bad, did I?
I didn't, I don't even know. It was just boom.
And then I asked you what the title was. That's when you started to check out, I think. Your response was, wouldn't you like to know? And then nothing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm sorry for those of you if this is kind of lagging on your end. That little doodad that pops up that says that we have low frames
Frames.
per second just popped up. Now, we have high speed internet here. We're not, you know, way out in the boondocks, only like 15 minutes outside of the city. So, you know, we don't have a problem only when we try to do anything live. Which maybe there's a message there for us, Grim. Maybe we should consider that. But anyways, I apologize if you're having that problem. We don't know how to fix it on our end, to be honest. Uh, Other than trying to get higher high speed internet.
Yeah, there's the next level up that we could pay for, but when businesses create when how do I put this? When companies create a package that is then considered for the business class versus the consumer class,
Mm-hmm.
the same service price goes up. So we're paying extra for the internet if we wanted to for this business class internet speed, which really doesn't do much.
Well, neither here nor there at the moment. But if you're having a problem with the, you know, if it's lagging, I apologize. Um, I we don't. Yeah. Anyways, hello to a few people out there. I want to say hi, hi. I know Susan is probably at another appointment today. I think she had one at 3, so she won't be joining us. So if you're so inclined, please share this with people that you think might be interested in having a chat with us and Graham and you know, just the dog. I think I heard her around here
Yeah,
too.
she's right behind you.
Sometimes she puts her nose in here and gives her 2 cents worth. So
She's
our title today, I love Grimm threw this in there. I was going to talk about because I was, brushing my teeth and putting on a little lipstick, and I always put mascara on um, before we do a live stream, just because my mom always told me lipstick and mascara, right? So we go minimal, but we go. Oh, and my eyebrows. I do a little color on my eyebrows. Otherwise, I would look like the Mona Lisa. But I digress. Uh, what the hell was I talking about,
You
Grim?
were talking about the title for today.
Oh yes, I always I use a mirror a lot in my everyday magic, in my spell work, and I know I mentioned yesterday I did the Tarot Tuesday reading on the Purple Door. It was actually Grimm's turn, but he had a lot on his plate yesterday, so I took over, and he'll probably do next Tuesday, right, Grimmer?
Yep.
Most likely. But anyways, I'm glad I did take it because the messages just came through loud and clear. And the way I typically do it is I typically go through and I don't really pay attention much to if anybody's written me anything specific. I just see who's like written a card number. I I try to respond with hearts, and then I like kind of absorb the names, I guess, if that makes sense. So I know when I'm pulling a card for that whole group. I don't know who's asked for what number. I try not to pay attention to that part unless somebody's written something kind of lengthy that might draw my attention. Um, but for the most part, that's how I do it. But yesterday I did it differently. Yesterday, I didn't go back and heart all of the comments until after I did the reading. And it was really it was cool because I got to see it from a different perspective, because this time I went back and I hearted everything and I paid attention to not only who, like I usually do, but this time I paid attention to the number. And I was able to kind of filter, oh, I see why they're drawn to that today. It was really cool. So it was sort of kismet magic for me. But I always, long way of saying, I always typically I use a mirror spell for a lot of things in my daily magic, because I look in the mirror frequently. I brush my teeth, I look in the mirror when I first wake up in the morning, make sure I don't look too much of a hag, though I love hag energy. But, make sure I'm not smudgy or, you know, drool dried on the side of my face or whatever. Let's face it, that happens, right? Come on. Uh, Crusties in the eyes, do the morning thing. I usually greet myself. I say hi to me, and many of you know that before I go out the door, I say a little magic mirror spell to myself, uh, to remind me of my power and also to surround myself with protection. And I do that sometimes when I think of it while I'm looking in the mirror, getting ready for 420 Tarot. I often receive messages from my guides, the Akashic Records, some of your ancestors and mine, that guide me along what I'm supposed to be talking about that day. And I've really kind of pulled away from doing that over the last couple of months. And I can't really figure out why I haven't been doing that, but today I did. And so today I thought, well, what a perfect thing to talk about is the mirror spell that I use, because it might make sense to you. I don't have any fancy words written down, although I think I did write something for our Root and Read uh, group. They know, they know
Your sacred words.
if I have any sacred words or suggestions. Those are the people that probably know, because they're kind of getting the grimoire of Gussy and Grymm, like, in written format right now. So lucky ducks. um, but I use a mirror spell a lot, and I think you might too, because you probably also check your face in the morning while you're brushing your teeth before you walk out the door. I mean, we like to make sure we don't look like a total hellion mess. So we usually check our
There's
visages.
pagan, and then there's
Right.
pagan.
Got to represent, folks. Got to represent. But But you might think about doing that as a way just to remind yourself before you walk out. Just, look at yourself in the mirror, look in your own eyes, remember who you are. It's no mistake that some of the things have happened to you, the lessons along the way. It's no mistake that you're such a strong person. And as you walk out the door into the world, into the area where other people abide, and I know that some of you are social creatures. Not everybody is a little hermit. I get it. But even those of us that tend to like to be around people, before we go out into people or before they come here to the church, I can feel my energy start to go a little wonky. And so I do that mirror spell to center. It's like a center, a reset, one of those moments to remind me. Sometimes people will, and I encourage you, and if you read the Tarot Tuesday post yesterday, I encourage people to write a mantra for themselves. It doesn't have to be anything long or difficult, just something as simple as sometimes I look in the mirror and some of my favorite words are clear, 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 connect, 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 create, create, create. Sometimes it's as simple as that, and I do the infinity symbol.
The mantra portion of your mirror spell, the words in them and of themselves don't have to mean anything to anybody but you,
Exactly.
because it is nothing more than you establishing in that moment as you're gazing into the mirror your connection to the divine, to yourself.
I know that members of our coven will, if anybody's listening, Grymm will probably chuckle. I used to use a specific set of words sometimes when I did my mirror spell before Grymm and I would go live at our old 7-ish live stream. I'd look in the mirror and say, bippity boppity boo.
Ha ha!
You know, I,
That was your
I
little
do a lot of
mantra.
snaps and claps, and yep, I did because it was like let's connect to that magical side of ourselves. That's what that means to me. But that's a different thing than putting protection around
Yep.
yourself before you walk out the door.
Mine was silver
Yours
shoes.
is still
Still
silver.
is. Silver shoes.
Yes, absolutely. So what I did love of what you put in the title though, Grymm, is
What's
you
that?
said Wild Card Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to say um, earlier we're going to do Wild Card Wednesday because that's Grymm's idea, and I love that.
I
Uh,
don't know what it means yet. That's why I
I'm going
didn't
to
go
find out.
live with it.
But I was thinking about using my pendulum later today. But I think what I'll do is plan on using a pendulum on Friday, so it gives you guys some time to think about some yes and no questions you might have. A
Free
yearning,
swinging Friday.
a yearning to ask. Free swinging Friday. Oh my God, Grymm.
Well, pendulum
I know,
swinging.
I know. It's just making me blush. My God, it's time to say hi to
You
people.
go there?
It's time to say hi. Get your coffee. I gotta scroll. I gotta say hi. Hi. Hi, Christy Reed. Hi, Jane. Hi, Michelle.
If
I
you
love
think
all
it,
you folks.
if
Hi,
you think
Angela
it's funny
Turley.
that she's blushing, say so in the comments.
Oh my gosh, Brandon says meowsy. Michelle says good to see you. Hello, everybody from Deb Kirkland. Jane sends a bunch of hearts. Angela T says hi. Angela T's been dutifully helping us in the Herbalist Guild, and today is Wort Cunning Wednesday. So it's also Wort Cunning Wednesday, not only Wild Card Wednesday. And I also noticed that LJ posted in the Purple Door today. Hello, girl, come say hi. Could she come say hi? That LJ wrote, it's Whimsical Wednesday. So we got all kinds of Wednesday magic going on today, and I'm glad of it.
I should go for the Lore Guild.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, I'm going to sneeze again. Hello, hello, hello. Kleenex.
My pretty girl.
Excuse
Blessing.
me. There she is. Hi, Kelly. Let's see. Mary Huey is here, and Karen is here. Karen Berkentine Springer. Hope your husband's doing better. LJ is here. I love that whimsical Wednesday thing. I think it might catch on. Um, we used to do woeful, whiny woeful Wednesdays because they're we all have days that we just like to complain about things. But it kind of felt good when you had a day that you could kind of focus, you know. And then it was all
Woe is me.
and then it was all game. You wouldn't have Gussy on there going, you know, choose happy. You don't have to worry about me doing that on Wednesdays. Anyways, I'm so sorry. Oh, we got a scammer in here. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Pay no attention. I don't know that person's name, but Grymm already ditched it. But nobody out there that has a message for you that's integral would drop in here and say that on my live stream. So, um, no matter how many bless yous they give. But hello, oh, Jerry Van Dam is here. That is awesome. Let's see. Get out of here. That's who that was, right? That's the person. Well, I can't scroll. I'm sorry if I missed your name. My computer is kind of lagging on this end too. I see Victoria Alfaro is here. Oh, she's back again. Please don't respond to the person sending a message about receiving a message. That's not anybody uh, that is connected to us, and it isn't anybody that I would recommend, especially not someone that would drop in on someone else's page. So let's light our candle. I know I was looking for a message down there because I think I saw Brandon say that he wasn't feeling very well. So we're going to light this candle. Um, we're going to light this candle for those of us that are here, those of us that are here in spirit. Oh, you better go, Grimmer. Those of us that are here with worries in our hearts or in our minds, those of us that are not feeling well, and those of us that are finally kind of turning that corner. Because I know for some of you, there was sort of a shift in energy on like around Sunday. Um, yes, our Sunday was the shift. I don't know cosmically speaking, other than I know there was a new moon that night. We are preparing for that eclipse in April, and I know some of the energies are shifting in that direction already. And those of us that are sensitive to that kind of thing will start to feel it well before the general population picks up the clue phone that it's happening. I mean, I know that everybody knows the eclipse is happening, or at least those that watch that sort of information do. I'm not slighting anybody's intelligence. I'm just saying that we're energetically, vibrationally sensitive to that sort of shift. And believe you me, the sun knows this is going to happen, and so does the moon. The I believe that the planetary awareness of the universe fully well knows what's going on, and those of us that are in touch with that vibe get it. And if you know what I'm saying, you get it, right? So, but not everybody is in that space yet. And so let's send out some good energy also to folks that are, still healing, still reeling, whatever. I'm unwinding that negative energy that no longer serves us anymore. And we're all taking some deep breaths and just grounding ourselves, feeling at peace with where we are right now, feeling comfortable where we're seated, keeping that breath flowing, knowing that with each breath out, oh, let's slow it down. You're right. Let's slow it down. Nobody needs to match that pace. Knowing that with each breath out, you are letting go of energy which no longer serves you. And this is energy on many levels, including on the physical level. So if there are damaged, dead, decaying, or dying cells, just let them go. Release them. You release toxins every day, let them be part of it, and replace it now. Replace it clockwise with that positive energy, that healthy, vibrant, uh, white light, Christ consciousness energy. And don't let that word Christ scare you. It's not the same thing. Christ was a title, not a last name. So, right. So focus yourself. Focus yourself. Keep breathing. allowing that energy to expand, allowing that part of your energy body that's kind of shriveled up, allow it to move out and expand. Take some deeper breaths. Feel your space. You take up much more space than just your physical body. We all do. We are much more vibrant lights than what is contained within these meat suits.
Cellular constraints.
There you go. Yeah, that was much more beautifully, eloquently put than what I said. Thank you. Oh, yes, and connecting with that divine mother, father, God, goddess connection, that energy that we're all connected to, every one of us. It's not just me, it's not just Grymm, not the dog, not the trees. It's available to all of us. And those of us that have reached consciousness level can make a conscious effort to connect to that energy mindfully and in the present moment. And when we do that, love flows, communication flows. We can honor not only ourselves now, but our past lives, our future selves. Mm. Ancestors along this journey, spirit guides if you're working with spirit guides, angels if you work with angels, fae if you work with the fae realm. Mm.
I just had an epiphany.
All gathered here for our greatest and highest good. Yes, Grandma.
I don't know where this came from, but when you said ancestors that are along the ride with us right now, it brought me to the thought of the ancestral traumas and healings that we talk about so much,
Mm.
and how that we honor those ancestors because we can tap into the lessons that they have learned in the lives that they lived physically.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk about the importance of understanding our shadow work because those healings that we do affect those that come after us.
Mm-hmm.
But I never put it together in such a way where I realized we become the ancestors. So in healing our shadow self now, we walk through the door into the divine. We are now the ancestors that we're talking about right now.
Right.
I've always understood that logically. I'm like, yeah, that makes it. But for whatever reason today, when
It
you
just
said it,
clicked deeper.
it clicked deeper.
I love that.
We are healing our physical selves,
Mm-hmm.
our emotional selves, our spiritual selves, and in doing so, adding that healing energy to the ancestral line.
Right. That is very true. That is very true. And that's also why when I mention our own past lives, I guess those are the two cards. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I mention our own past lives, I mean, in some cases, we are our own ancestors. We become our own. We're our part of our own lineage, if that makes sense.
And that's how we say when we heal ourselves, our shadows now,
Mm-hmm.
and that heals our
It
ancestors.
heals in both
It
directions.
heals in both directions. But that's because
But
we're
it
adding to that ancestral energy.
right because now that doesn't mean that in every past incarnation you were your own grandmother. I mean, I do believe that you may have been one or two. I mean, I think over the many, many lives that many of us have lived, I think there's a fair chance that we,
Spawned a family line that
I
we're
do,
now in.
I do believe, right. I do believe. But
Well, that makes
when you clear a family trauma like that, the way it affects grandma or great grandma or whatever
mm-hmm.
is if she lived under that same trauma, if she experienced it during her lifetime, if you're able to get past it, it's like her job is done now. Her part of the story played its purpose, and now it all
it,
heals. It heals backwards and it heals forwards for future generations, and not just like children. It can be cousins,
mm-hmm.
children, anybody in your family bloodline.
Yeah. This brings forth, and I'm sorry, this is turning into a subject for the day. I don't know how this relates to Wildcard Wednesday, but To add physical scientific proof to this concept that as we heal or as we traumatize, we pass that down to future generations, Gussie reminded me of a study that was done by a university some time back where they took a family of mice, put them an enclosed environment. They had never been exposed to any kind of predation in their life. They're lab mice. At some point in the mice's life, they introduced a cat to the scenario, threw a cat into the enclosed environment, and you can imagine the trauma that ensued, the hissing and the squealing and the excitements and the fears and the excitements of the cats and everything all mingled together. The cat
The
didn't, the
carnage.
carnage, the trauma that the
The cat.
last moments of existence that some of these mice felt. But not all of the mice died in this horrific attack. The cat was removed before it was a complete massacre. Then those mice were then put back into their enclosed environment, free of any kind of fears. All of their needs were met. Everything that they could ever expect in life was given to them.
A few generations they went.
They had children, and those children who had never once been exposed to the trauma of a mouse
A cat.
and a cat in the same room, when they were exposed to nothing more than the scent of a cat,
A single
a
hair
single hair,
dropped into their tank.
they went into complete panic.
It was chaos.
And that trait was passed down to two more generations after that initial one time
Hmm.
severe trauma.
So when you, this is shadow work, y'all.
Yep.
When you start thinking about some of the stories that have affected your family line, some of the stories that you've heard about an uncle, a grandfather, whatever, wherever the story is, and you have to allow yourself to think for a few minutes. Wow, like how did that person feel? And I wonder what it was like. Let me give you a little background info on me. Some of you know this already, and some of you don't. But like many witches out there, I've always been drawn to the village and now the city of Salem, Massachusetts. I had this funny pull and fascination. Probably started when I was maybe 10 years old, maybe fifth grade, sounds about right. And I ended up visiting there a number of times. I actually ended up living just outside of Salem for a while in my 30s, and it was really like being home again for me. And I equated that always with you know the fact that I was a witch, and I've known I'm a witch for a very long time now. And so
Of course.
Lori Cabot was one of my first witchy teachers out there, and I, as a matter of fact, took my first child to her shop in Salem, and he picked out his little deck of dragon tarot cards when he was like 2.5 years old. I digress again. Fast forward a bunch of years now, Grymm and I are together, and we're living in Port Townsend, Washington, and he and I have always been interested. At the start of our relationship, ancestry research was a big part of what we both were interested in outside of our relationship. So when we came together as a couple, doing ancestry research is a fun pastime for us. It's a passion. And we were doing some research on some family names, and lo and behold, I stumbled across the fact that I'm related to the Proctor family from Salem, Massachusetts. Aha, the light bulb comes on. I think back on when I was looking at buying property back there when it was affordable in the 90s, and I almost bought a house. I was so drawn, I still am, to the little town of Ipswich, Massachusetts. And I found out that is where John Proctor's land was. It was in Ipswich Township, which is right next to Salem. But of course, Salem is where they were taken for trial and everything. You had it. I heard you go, oh,
I just had another shadow box epiphany. But I want you to continue with your story.
well. My long story short about that is that once I realized that I'm related to that family. And I put myself in their shoes. Um, I remember hearing that John Proctor, when after he was hung, the Proctor boys, the oldest ones, went back in the dark of night and dug. They weren't allowed to be buried in the Christian burial. Yeah. Pardon me. Maybe he's here with us. But they were thrown in basically like a shallow pauper's grave on unconsecrated ground. So in the dead of night, some of the Proctor boys went back where their father was buried and gathered him up and took him and buried him somewhere secret. Nobody really knows where to this day. And some of that family ended up, you know, basically, I'm sure there was a lot of fear and shame that followed even after the trials were over. Um, how could you go through something like that and not let it affect?
If your generation experienced it, you felt it for the rest of your life.
Right. And then I was thinking, well, why did my dad never tell me about this part of my family history? Well, in all fairness, he probably didn't know because that was a story that was buried deep, right? So I think sometimes, a lot of um, I've had a lot of fear, even though I've been out as a witch really since I was in college, maybe even a little before that, if you ask some of my friends. Um, I feel like there has always been this little lurking fear, like many of you have, about being, you know, called out in a negative fashion. And I know that I've had a past life or two, or maybe more, where I was burned or drowned because of my spiritual choices. But then when I realized that I have this family trait, this trend as well, this trauma that's kind of been following along, some of the family have gone on, they still keep the name Proctor. It's just buried under the name Proctor and Gamble. But it is the same family. It is definitely the same family. I wish I had some of their wealth, but I'm not a part of that part of the family. I'm on a different branch, I think.
You're on the branch that decided to hide.
Yeah.
It went underground and
Yep.
became a root,
It's funny also because
which sprouted another tree.
a lot of those ancestors from that time, the ones that decided to go quiet, they wherever we have looked, Grim and I follow this part of the family tree. A lot of them ended up living just outside of Amish uh, Amish territory, just outside of it. So that meant they were probably part of the community, but um, not part of the Amish church.
Right.
But anywho, I've got 3 cards here,
I
Grim.
know, but can I tell you really quick?
Oh, yes, please do.
As you were talking about your family tree and the shadows that were handed down generationally based on that, it got me to thinking about my family tree's role in your family tree at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I came from a family that participated in some of the persecution of those witches.
Right.
And then I looked deeper into that, and I look at my own family tree, and I go, wait, I've had military members that went on and did great things, members of my family tree that were protectors, sheriffs,
Mm-hmm.
going all the way back to the Sheriff of Nottingham. Now, not the one of Robin Hood fame, but a Sheriff of Nottingham. So many of my members of the family were on the side of protecting what they thought at the time was right.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that as I look at the family stories, each of the men in our families were always a generation behind in what we think is moral and just. I've noticed that the men in my family line are very difficult in bending what they justify as moral, godly behavior or whatever.
Okay. I don't know what you're referring to.
So it goes to my behaviors and the way I was raised. I don't,
Get on the screen
oh,
though, please.
I have a hard time when new concepts are introduced to me from a social perspective. I don't resist social change. I just have a hard time adapting to it.
Why? Because you need it to be your idea.
No, I
You
don't
need
need
to
it to
be
be my idea.
understood it. You need to understand
I
it.
need to understand it, whatever the reason is. But I'm now understanding that some of that comes from, look, my family, all the men in my family, their morality's always been about a generation behind. They're always defending the values of their parents.
Mm,
They're also very much involved in defending the morals and the values of the leadership of the society, being military, sheriffs, lawyers, those
right.
types of things. So here I come along and I want to fight that. I don't want to be in the military. I want to go into some other form of service. But my morality, the way I was raised, was very much militant service.
Mm,
And that explains a lot of the anger that I have in my, or grew up with in my own personal life, because I couldn't affect the type of change that I wanted in the people around me, but that I wanted to see, because I was always angry that they were doing it.
but that candle's really dancing to
Yeah.
whatever you're talking about.
The anger that they, or the behaviors that they exhibited that I wanted to see changed in them, I would militarize me, would, oh, that behavior needs to change. And I would never look at it from a spiritual, shadow boxed point of view of where their behavior is coming from. I'm just understanding a little bit more how I've allowed the ancestral trauma to affect my physical, this now life.
I'm going to have to re listen to this again because I was completely mesmerized with the candle responding to your words.
Yeah.
Well, I pay attention to that kind of
Yes,
stuff.
you do.
So the problem is, I was so mesmerized by it, I forgot to listen to what you were saying. That last, no, I got all up until that last part about the physical side.
Well, I
So,
just now realized to what depths my ancestral line passed down these traits that, for whatever reason, on a spiritual, unconscious level, I wanted to resist, didn't want to take part in. But it still influenced how I dealt with people and how
hmm,
I dealt with things that I disagreed with.
I agree. Oof. Oh,
So I can't, now I'm not using that as a justification for those decisions that I made where I let anger lead the way. But I understand a little better about why that happened. What one other cog in the wheel of who is Grymm just clicked forward a bit.
I had one click too just now, so thank you.
Oh,
Yep,
double click.
yep. I'm just not going to share it with everybody.
Okay.
Let's pull a card for you folks. May the words that we say be the words that need to be heard, and may they be heard clearly and with understanding.
And if they are being heard with clarity and understanding, comment below.
And so it is. You keep, right before I get to and so it is, you keep interrupting me. You can't throw a gratuitous comment below moment right before I say and so it is.
Well, that way, if people comment, it's
That's
been
quick.
endorsed by the
This
divine.
is the second time you spit on me when you're talking
It's,
with all
it's
that
the
coffee.
coffee splash.
I
I'm
know, but
sorry.
I don't like it.
But I apologize for the comment below. But if you think about it,
Ah, shush!
if they do
Shush!
comment,
You what?
it's divine. It's been blessed.
That's why I'm sneezing today, I guess.
And christened by coffee spray.
What?
And christened by coffee spray.
Yeah, that's great. Keep that spray to yourself, sir. You and your walrus mustache. All right, card for the group. Ace of Cups in the reverse position. Ta-da! Let's take a look at this one. Ooh, we got some ancestor energy here. That doesn't surprise me considering what we were just talking about. I feel like some of you felt a little energized from this conversation today. And I know that not everybody watches this live. I know some people watch this later, and that's great. Um, because I think this might apply to some of you out there too that are, tuning in at a later time. There's something electrical right now about connecting with our ancestors. And now more than ever is it time to listen to their messages, and some of us, do that on a daily basis, and some of us forget about it a lot. But all of us have this feeling and awareness that they're there. Grandma, grandpa, someone that's passed over. As a matter of fact, I believe today, if Sage is here, she's probably not because it's a tough day for her, but it's her sister's birthday who's crossed over already. So, yep, she just came in loud and clear. So, connect with that vital energy, connect with them, get in the flow of it. Getting back to your roots is as important as looking toward your future, because you don't want to continue repeating the same patterns that your ancestors did.
Some of those roots need to wither.
Right. Some of them need to die on the vine, and you know that is true. And so allow yourself to start seeing what those are and letting them go, having these electrifying moments with your ancestors where you have an aha moment like Grymm did, where he had this sudden awareness about why they maybe did things the way they did and how it's affected you.
As an add-on to what Gussy's saying, it's not your fault for those of us that don't feel connected to our ancestors. I know that I personally do and Gussie does, but that doesn't mean that you have to have a connection right now to your ancestry. But I will say it's not your fault that you do. The way society works today,
Our our society.
our society, yes, our society works today is we've been slowly removed one thread at a time from our ancestors. Commercialization of the death industry is an
Yeah,
unintended consequence of what we're going through
that's
right
very
now.
true.
I mean, this is an unintended consequence. For those of you that feel the pull of your ancestors and have no idea where to look,
Start with
what
all
your,
my ancestors.
yep, all my ancestors. Look into those areas of your physical life today that you feel drawn to for an unknown reason. If you're drawn to a particular time in history, a particular culture, and it's something that really,
Allow yourself to explore.
yes, if it electrifies you,
Right.
explore it.
And I know sometimes, a lot of times I'll suggest that people put on a piece of paper, write your ancestor's name on a little fancy piece of paper, make it look like a scroll, stick it on your altar, make it look cool, or put it in a frame, or however you're called to display it. But I know not all of us know all of our ancestors. On my mom's side, I really only know my grandmother and grandfather's name, and that's as far back as it goes. And I'm not able to find any more, even after 20, 30 years of digging. So, that being said, I write all, and even when I work with it's not always writing. Sometimes um, in my words, but I refer to all my ancestors,
And
those
that's a
known
deeper
and
topic
unknown.
in all of itself.
Right. We got another card here, Grymm, since it is Wild
Wild
Card
Card
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Do you want to read it?
Uh-oh. I've never even looked at this deck.
Ooh, so this is
This is a
cold card.
cold card for me.
Cold card. I can do it if you don't want to. Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. Ooh.
We actually have two cards that bounced
I want
out.
to take the name of the card out of the picture
Okay.
and just look upon the image itself
Okay.
because that's what's really calling to me. And I got it in reverse. So maybe that's just what the Six of Pentacles means today. I've got it in reverse because that's the way it was presented to me. Now I'm going to flip it back into the upwards position here so you can all take a gander at it. Now I've never looked at this deck before, had no clue of what it is.
Dark Mansion Tarot.
Dark Mansion Tarot. But in the upright position, what I see is the wealth being given to the poor. What I see is somebody concerned about what is going on in the world around them, and they're contributing to a solution to that problem.
I also, are those cabbages?
No, they're not. That's because you see, you look at
I
them,
don't have my
they're little
glass.
gold coins.
No, really? Can I see
Yes,
it?
they're little gold coins.
Oh my God, with my glasses off, they look
I know,
green and they look like
but
cabbages.
well, they do on the computer screen too. They they kind of turn green and look like
That's
little
fun.
cabbages, which is
Which is our
got
award
kind of.
of the week.
But anyways, that's what I see here is the wealth being distributed fairly and equitably because somebody's decided that's the way it needs to be done, and they're doing it from their personal space. Right now, what we've got is that is a bit skewed and upside down. We've got one small portion of the world that controls the wealth, and well, they're taking it from the other 99%. Now, I'm not going to go all political because that's not what this is about. I'm going to go a little bit social. The reason it's so upside down in some aspects of the world today is because we've grown up in a society where we expect the government to give. To some degree or another, we expect a kickback from the government, which is a whole political conundrum that I'm not going to get into right now. But on a social level, what I will say is this: before the government got involved in social programs, before there was such thing as social safety nets of any variety, before that time in history, communities thrived when it came to gathering their resources and ensuring that the communities survived. Regardless of who lived within that community, what their social status was, the community banded together in times of trying.
Yeah, that's what it was like growing up in a
That's
small
what it was
town.
like growing up in a small town. Now, there are still communities out there that are like that. They're in the rural areas, they're in the countryside, they're in the farming country. And in times of strife, in their small communities, they band together and they provide. For whatever reason, as the government started putting in those taxes and those social safety nets, which is desperately needed, local communities started realizing that they didn't have as much as they needed to be able to give, and charitable donations to locals went down.
You know, I don't know the so the implication there being find ways
Give.
to share in your community
Mm-hmm.
ways that you can.
Yeah,
I know that some of our friends are joining like seed exchange clubs.
yeah,
We'd love to do that with our herbalist guild, but we just haven't organized it yet. And and I know that it doesn't always mean that you have to gift financially.
no, no, no.
It can be, baking something for the local shelter and dropping it off, or finding out what the parameters are for that sort of
Yeah,
kind of donation, or I know a lot of us don't have a church that we belong to, and some of those shelters, a lot of where their food comes from is from churches.
mm-hmm.
But if you can find like an interfaith center or a universalist church or unity church, um, and just contact them about wanting to be part of, a food bank or a shelter program where, once a month the church goes in and donates
Mm-hmm.
time and effort on feeding a homeless family or something.
I know so many of us live such busy lives that giving to the local community is so difficult, and it's so much easier to.
Just, yeah, it's hard enough to take care of
it
ourselves,
it's
isn't
hard
it?
enough to take care of ourselves, but I firmly believe, and I think Gussie does too, to the depths of our hearts, that the best way that we're going to be able to fix future generations from having issues is by preventing them from happening in the first
We got
place.
to teach them to be loving and kind again.
Yes, we must lead by example to what we wish our children to receive. And right now we spend a lot of time looking away from that. We're looking at the now so deeply that we forget that there's a that or a future.
The Three of Swords. I've not seen this card either. I've not worked with this deck very long. It's a beautiful card.
It is. I really like the artwork on
Yeah, I
this
do
card.
too. I very much.
I mean,
Very.
I'd almost tattoo that one on my arm.
what I love about it is, we were talking about how death practices have shifted so much.
Hmm.
And I know back in Victorian days, believe it or not, Grim and I used to have um, this talk that we would give at uh, different literary cons and haunted cons and whatnot that talked about the funerary practices of the Victorian era. And one of the things would be to make a hair locket. And that came into my head when you were talking about how we've grown so far away from our old burial customs.
Yeah.
And that really is, it does really, separate us from our ancestors because we used to be the ones that cared for the body after the,
After it was no longer in use.
after it was no longer in use. We prepared the body, washed it, cleansed it, oftentimes put oil and herbs, yes, to somewhat mask the stench, but it was also part of
The ritual.
the ritual. And we used to always tend. Grimm didn't. We didn't. But I'm saying our ancestors here used to sit. What do the Jewish folks call it? Shiv, sitting
Hmm.
shiv. We didn't call it that, but sitting next to the dead body and attending it through the night for however many nights
Hmm.
before it was buried, typically buried, sometimes cremated.
Well, in Jewish, that's not the case.
Right. Well, I'm not talking
Yeah.
to
Oh, you're
anything.
going. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
was
I'm not.
back at Arborcrest Memorial
No,
Gardens.
I'm not talking about Jewish. Not necessarily. But anyhow, this card. Oops, I just tossed it over here like no big deal. This card is really. It is really beautiful. When I see the Three of Swords card, I typically know that there's going to be somewhat of a sacrifice. Somewhere, somehow along the line, is going to be some kind of a payment made, some kind of an agreement agreed upon um, where there is a compromise, and something has to give in a current situation. Something has to give. But the positive part about this is that it's giving, and even though it might hurt a little, the end result is a positive thing. Things are still moving forward and upward. So I don't know what it is out there that you're connected to that's causing this delay, this kind of dense energy around you, kind of putting things on hold a little bit and not moving forward. But even though it might hurt a little to kind of, I don't know if it's about giving over control or you just kind of making a compromise, reaching your hand out to find a compromise on some tough issue. But I feel like once you do this, um, things will start to improve dramatically. I think for some of us also, this might include our connection to the energy of finance. So give that some thought. Give that some thought. All right, I think that's it, Grimmer. Thoughts?
Well, as soon as you said
Because
finance,
we're at
yeah,
53 minutes.
as soon as you said that, as far as finance goes, it just got me to thinking a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure it did. What? Just I don't want. I want to talk about politics though.
No, it wasn't anything to do. It was still back on Ancestral. I'm still in.
Oh, well, share.
I'm running down a list of members of my family that I can think of that.
Share, please, because somebody
Wow.
somebody says yes, please. Ooh. Hello and welcome.
I'm I'm going through the family stories that we've discovered through our own research and the stories that were handed down through my family to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm noticing that there was always a sense of pride in the retelling of the stories that were involvement of death and battle.
Mm-hmm.
Every generation of our family had somebody that died in some war
Right.
or was shot by some outlaw.
Yes.
We put a lot of pride in sacrificing our lives. I'm saying not, how do I say this?
I don't know, but
My family tree puts a lot of pride in sacrificing your life for the cause.
okay. Yes, that makes sense. It do.
I broke that chain for my portion of that family line. I did not go into the military because I couldn't do it. Any other form of social service that I could perform, going into the police, going into any of that, involved stuff that would deny me a spiritual path. All those things that were expected of me, I did not do, and I am greatly rewarded for not doing it. I'm not really saying anything other than I'm talking to myself at that point, at this point.
Well, maybe I'm thinking maybe that
Well, that I think isn't.
somebody heard you. Somebody heard what you said, and I'm sure it connected.
I think that I can fully embrace my spirituality in a way that I couldn't just 30 minutes ago.
Oh, that's cool. That's not just cool. I mean, that's an understatement. I don't know what words to put there. What I mean, welcome to your new perspective, Grymm.
That's, I think, the end result of what I'm getting out of this whole download or epiphany, whatever we want to call it, is no matter how well I think I understand who I am as a spiritual being living a physical existence, I've got so much further to go.
Genevieve wrote, "Took the way of the peaceful warrior." Yep, yep. That's what it's all about. Nothing comes from an angry mouth.
Oh, but I'll tell you, I was not the peaceful warrior in my youth.
No.
I still resorted to those actions even though I didn't need to. And thank you, Gussie, for today's 420 Tarot because it's helped me understand myself
Thank you, Grimmer.
on a deeper level.
I
And
think that deserves a kiss. Whew, got some coffee.
yep, that just goes to
Mm,
I can
flavor
honestly
of the
say
day.
that I love you with all of my heart, and today my heart just got a little bit fuller.
Love you too. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, guides. Thank you, everyone out there. All of you, I just love that you sit here and, oh, Pamela says there's always something new to learn. I love that I'm sitting here worried about the time. Oftentimes, when Susan is on here, she'll send us when we've been on here about half an hour because at some point we were worried about taking too much of people's time. So, for those of you that have the fear of missing out, FOMO, and you just hang on because you don't want to miss anything, I apologize for us going close to an hour. But for those of you that were listening and got something out of this and, uh, you know, support what we do in the Purple Door, we love y'all and we love y'all
If
anyways. I was
you're
just
meant
teasing.
if you're meant to hear it, you'll be here.
If you're meant to hear it, you'll be here. Absolutely. And don't forget that we have um, Pause for Peace tonight at 9 p.m. That is something you do on your own. You don't wait for a live stream or anyone to post anything other than Susan will post in the Purple Door every night a new focus word. I don't know if you've paid attention in there enough, but every night at 9ish, she usually posts about somewhere between 8 and 9, and it'll have the focus word for it. Yesterday, I think it was it kindness? I think it was kindness. I don't know what today's is yet. She's always the one that surprises us with them. And you can go there and find that word. And so when you meditate tonight at 9, think about whatever the word might be, focus on
Mm-hmm.
it. Then also don't forget on the 28th of March we have a Purple Door Witch Wave live stream. If you happen to be in the area of Jackson, Michigan on the 23rd of March, we're hosting an Ostara ritual here at the old church. It's a potluck ritual kind of thing, family friendly, should be fun. And other than that, visit our website, openthepurpledoor.com, if you want to book a reading with me or Grymm, or you want to get an astrology reading. Copper does natal charts and that sort of thing.
And we're getting ready to have another reader added to the rotation on the website.
We keep saying that, but it
No,
just takes
I've
us so
already
long.
started it.
Okay.
I've
Oh,
already
good.
started it.
Okay.
I
Good.
know.
It just takes us 3 times as long as
I
this
have
one.
started it.
Um, And what else? There was one more thing. One more thing. One more thing. Don't forget to check out. Oh, yeah, thank you. Don't forget to check out, if you're part of the Purple Door Herbalist Guild, our wort of the week is cabbage, with a little tip of the hat to our Irish ancestors, slash Scottish, slash Welsh, slash Fey. But anyways, yes, a little tip of the hat there. And so join us on finding remedies, recipes, ideas about that particular
Yeah,
wort.
we changed up the format for it a little bit, and I'm a little curious to see how well it's received.
Right. It's one of those kitchen witch staples, cabbage. A lot of people don't think about it as a magical wort, but it truly, truly is. Other than that, I think that's all. I think that's it. We also do have a Patreon if you'd like to support what we're doing. You can register there to help us out.
Patreon at Gussy and Grymm,
Patreon at Gussy and Grymm, and that is where you sign up. That's one of the places you can sign up for the e-zine. You can also go through our website, right?
which takes them to Patreon.
Right. It's one or the other. Same thing. You won't get one. It's the same thing.
Yep.
So please support us that way. Our e-zine is only $4.20 a month. Yes, that's on purpose. And it's a digital format, so it's nothing mailed to your door, although I would love to do that. But we're just not there yet. So anyhow, I think that's it.
We need to start setting an easy promotional goal every month of how
That's a
many
great
new
idea.
subscribers we get to
That's
it.
a great idea. I love it. All right, all. Stay magical.
Silver shoe.